Hey guys, in this video, you're going to learn how to build complex forms inside of Webflow that help build trust, convert users, and really just provide a more valuable experience. So more and more websites are moving away from standard forms that you typically see due to the more complex needs of learning more about your customers and the more intricate experiences that are being built, especially in the web applications nowadays. As everyone's needs are different, building a unique solution and process for your user is going to be really important as you guide them through complex signups or quizzes, trying to get more information, marketing experiences, doing multi-step forms, and especially ones with logic or certain paths built in are going to be very, very valuable. Now, I know external tools can do this. You have tools like Typeform that are great at what they do, but they also kind of lack the customized control. And you're also having to sign up for another tool, integrate another payment, and do something maybe your client doesn't really want to do, or maybe even yourself. We can actually do this inside of Webflow with the help of a little tool called Formly. Now, this is a no-code solution just using attributes like you might be familiar with FinSuite to expand the ability of forms inside of Webflow. You can do some pretty cool stuff with it. So I'm going to show you how to build one of these, and once this is done, I'm actually going to leave the clonable for y'all to go ahead and use and have fun with yourself as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I would like to do is actually show you an example of how we used one with the client. So we designed a simple landing form for landing page, a consultancy, and they help businesses use technologies and improve their processes. Won't get into all that. However, the fun part here is we have a form built for them. So you see how you can improve. Okay, need a little low flicker there, and I'll show you how to fix that too. And really, this is just a simple weighted form that shows a different ending based on what you filled out. So we'll go through these questions real quick. Do you leverage technology? Yes. Data analytics, strategy in place? No. I do measure the ROI, and I'm not satisfied with business intelligence. Collecting and utilizing all the data you collect? No. Not visualize. So I'm just going to click through these. Can you have challenger data processing? Yes. Okay, and then we fill that out. So just add one yes, and I'll do email, design.co, design, next, and then boom, it spits out a unique, essentially score result based on my answers that I filled out there. And this is all inside of Webflow. And so I'm going to show you an example of how we can build one for yourself, and I'll show you what this looks like as well. So in order to help the little flicker, I went ahead and I have a loading animation, and this is all going to be available in there as well. And you see, this is a form that we're going to go ahead and walk through and show you how to build. So for you designers watching the channel, we're going to have just a little simple path on how a user or a potential client can come in and choose what website is best for them. So now we'll go ahead and get started. Upside down, yes, same thing, design, and we'll go next. It's the same thing. So engage users. So we'll click through a few of them here. Nothing too crazy. Boom. Okay. Now a custom ending is showing for me. So telling someone that a web application sounds like that's what's best for their business. So let's go ahead and start building this. So I'll be showing you these, what you can do in these features, but you can also do some pretty simple multi-step forms for onboarding as well, just using the free plan. So you can actually go to the docs here, or have the landing page. I do have the docs open. And essentially all you do is just to enable Formly, you'll input in the script that they have available, and then you'll start assigning the attributes to what we'll do, but we're going to go ahead and go through all that together. But Formly is a pretty awesome thing, pretty awesome tool here. So you can see it's just adding scripts, and then you create your form, and then you would have a bunch of examples here as well. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is really get into the questions that we would like to ask someone whenever we're trying to get them down a path. So for this, I have 3 different questions per category, and I did essentially 5 different categories, or five main questions, 3 different answers. So the first question is, what's the main purpose of the website? And I have 3 different answer choices that will guide them down the path in the end. Second one is, how often do you plan to update your website? A third one is what do you need to integrate with other systems or databases? And fourth one is, do you need advanced features like user accounts, payment processing, or interactive tools? Now, fifth one, what's your budget for this website project? Now, based on what answer choices they use or they fill out, it will then send me to the end result here. If they mostly choose the first answer, the single landing page might be the best fit. If they mostly choose the second answer, a full marketing site might be the right choice. If they mostly choose the third answer, a web application might be the best solution to go ahead and have here for them. When we'll get into what I'm doing here a little bit later. So now let's go ahead, and now that we've planned this out, we also need to make sure we have each end card that we're going to want to go ahead and use. Now, the quiz we're doing today is a little different. So I have this all built out here, so I'm going to go ahead and walk through building this together. So I'm going to do new form. Okay. Now I am using Client First and FinSuite, so I'm going to use their plugins just to go ahead and add the core page structure, let that reload. And now we have the core page structure in here. And then I'm going to do section form. Okay. Now, essentially what I am kind of doing in here is that we have, should be padding global, okay, container large. And then what I would like to do now is actually add a form block. This is kind of how I did this. So again, we need to actually use forms because it's going to be submitted. This is how this is going to be built. I'll go back through how I laid this out. All right. So now I have actually labeled this form component, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, form component. And then we have form wrapper. Okay, there we go. This is just centering this, so whenever it's just showing a single card, then it's going to be centered on the screen. It's kind of how I want to go ahead and do that. So this is just a flex box with standard width here, and then just center justify. Now, really, I can go ahead and delete all these. I don't really need these yet. Let's just start with a nice blank canvas here. Now, what I did do was actually start creating my cards. Okay, so I have my intro card, and I'm going to do form grid component. Okay, and this is going to be the grid wrapper essentially. So this is what allows form wrapper appending section large. My style did not come over. Interesting. So this is what's going to allow the cards to be placed in there. So then I'm going to go ahead and do a put in a card. So then we'll have form card. Okay. And inside my card, I just have another grid as well. Nothing too crazy. And then I want to add the content we want to have in here. So we'll do 2 more div blocks here, and this is going to be form card content, and then we'll duplicate this. Now inside of here, and an H1 and a paragraph. So now that I have my content here, I'm going to do a form content or content top. And then this is going to house all my information at the bottom here. And I'm going to do margin top here. Okay. Margin medium. I'll get that. And then let's move my button row here. I'll add a button. So I'm just adding all this stuff in here really based on the information I want to do. So again, I'm working off of Client First here. So just adding in all the elements that I'm going to need. So we have this here, and I think that should be it. So now I have my heading 1. Okay. Put it in between. of a paragraph. And then this is going to be a margin bottom and a margin small. Then I'm going to have a tagline here. So actually, this is probably going to be more like margin tiny. There we go. So we can just name this website quiz. And then we want to have all of our copy ready for this as well. So I'm going to bring in my copy. I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty details here. Okay. So now we can actually wrap this inside of a dig block, kind of margin top. Give that a little bit of separation. So actually I did not have content twice here. What I did was actually have another image. So form, image wrapper, and then add an image. And then here we have form, image. And there we go, choose image. And I am going to use this image for now. Boom. All right, there you go. Button. I'm going to say get started. All right. So now that we have one of our steps built, because essentially the way this is going to work is we need to have steps all going to be inside the same form. So now that I built out the very first thing, this is how I like to do it. I like to make the steps and then put all the attributes that I need, and then from there start duplicating them out. It just goes a little bit faster. So let's go into our attributes. Now we have our form wrapper here. So we're going to need to go ahead and do data form, and then we need to do multi-step. Okay. And then we need to do data quiz equals true. And then there's one more I like to do, and I'll show you what this is. Data enter equals true. All right. Now if we go to our multi-step documentation, so we're just enabling the multi-step, and I'll get into what these do, the steps here. And then we're going to go ahead and do data form, our next buttons and back buttons, okay? So we're just getting the base information set up here. So let's go back to our Webflow page here. So now that we have our form card, what we're going to do here is do our data step. Data form, and then step, because this is going to be one step. And there's one extra piece of information that we want to do for the first one, because you can see I'm actually not inputting anything. I'm just doing get started. So there's a power up in here. This is called intro cards, right? Now this is intro cards inputs. All it is you do data card equals true. So I'm going to do that to this very first one, data card, and then true. And there we go. Now this step will start without requiring any inputs. Now we have the first card, and we need to go ahead and start getting the next cards done. Now the way I like to do this is go ahead and just duplicate that, and then I will start to design this out as needed. So what I did was I can just copy this over. That way I get my form content. I wanted the style a little different. I just wanted a bar in the middle to create separation. What I'm going to do is right. And that way I have a little bar separating there. Okay, great. But we need inputs, right? So what I'm going to do is just get rid of all of this fun stuff. And then we have our data form content top. And I believe I actually remove this. So form, card content questions. There we go. And what I did was actually did a radio button. I will style this here in a second. Got rid of this contents, got rid of this, and I will actually keep my button group here. and my margin. So I want to move this over to the other side. Okay. Now this is a heading 1, so this is not going to be a heading 1. What I'm going to do is go ahead and go down to like an H3 or even an H4. And now we just need to go ahead and get our questions inputted in here. So I have, my first one is, what is the primary purpose of the website? Let's copy that. Great. Oops. Actually, I'm sorry, I missed a step here. We need to do, I'll go on without it. So now we have our radio. Now I did my group name, website quiz, and then we'll do YouTube. And then my choice value, the first one is going to be small. I'm just doing this for simplicity. So small being landing page, medium being marketing site, and then large being the web application. So this one's going to be small, and then I'll do the rest a little later. So I just went ahead and styled these. So we'll do radio. So it's form radio. And then we got, so form radio icon. And then we have form radio label. And then we want to make sure if you are designing this that you actually choose custom. Okay, that's what that looks like. Nothing too crazy or fancy. Now the label is what's going to be your answer choice, just like if you're doing a quiz on a computer, a test or something. So we need our first one here. Now we have our first question. So what we're going to want to do is do data, and I'm actually going to show you some of this. So we have there's another attribute or formerly quiz section. And what we need to do is have data selected and your value. This is going to be on the radio itself. Radios are required for this to work in this scenario, what we're building. So data selected, your value. So what we're going to do is type in data selected. First one is small, okay? And we'll just take that for now. And then what I'm going to do is kind of go ahead and duplicate this one a few times over. Because now I have 3 questions, right? So here's what we're going to do. Now we're going to go to here and type in or grab to sell products or services. Okay. Then we also have this one here to engage with. Oops. So now we have our 3 answers. Actually, I did this wrong. So here's a little mistake. You might do this. I have done this before. It needs to be on the radio button, data selected, small. All right. Oops. I hope I'm having an issue here with my RAM, I think, or cache. It's not letting me do any attributes. Data selected, medium, data selected, large. That's how I've done it in this example. And you can really just do whatever data you want, because later on you're actually going to dictate where the answers take you. All right, now we need to do our next and back buttons. So what I'm going to do is actually do is alternate and then is small. And my example here, I'm sorry, is secondary and is small. So is secondary, is small. There we go. So I'm going to do back and next. Nothing too crazy. Now to get these buttons working, what we need to do is have an attribute called data form, and then you do back then BTN, back button. And do the same thing, data, form, next, button. All right. Now, what I want to make sure I do too is make these required. And there we go. So again, the way this is going to work is we need to use radio buttons. For each question, the radio group name should be the same, but with different values on each option. We don't need to use logic, so this one's going a little differently. So we have radio quiz. So now we have the first one, so we'll do purpose. All right. Now we want to duplicate this again. Now that all of our attributes are assigned, then we can go ahead and do that. But I make sure I want to fix this. So take off form data step. Now we have our next one, and we're going to go through the same process and start going through this over and over again. What I would like to do, remember what you might want to try to do here is actually change your, make sure these are on the same group name. If not, you can get mixed results. So the second one here is how do you update or plan to, how often you plan to update on your website? And then that will be the question. And then what I'm going to do, website quiz updates. Okay, I'm going to copy that. This. Cool. This. Some data selected, small. Let's make sure no bugs are hanging around here. Small. There we go. Boom, boom, large. Medium, small. All right. Perfect. Now we just need to fix the questions, and then we're just going to repeat the same process essentially. Okay. All the questions are in place now. So now we need to do one more step here. Now we need to go ahead and create our results cards, okay? So now if we go to our quiz validation, you'll see that we have data selected as our answer choices, and then we're going to have data selection as the path taken, okay? This is going to encapsulate all the questions that were filled out. So you have data selected, and then path 1, path 2. So multiple paths, same div. So I'm not going to go through creating these here. So what I did here was actually I created a form results wrapper, okay? And I did that because it's just one final wrapper with the form data step. So same thing, we added a step. And then for the card itself, I used the same class, but I gave it the data selection. So let's go ahead and bring that over to our new quiz here and show you what we did. The same thing, I will bring this over, and now we have our, let's fix those real quick. So that's how we know that this is the new one, because our buttons are different. All right, cool. So now we have our form card, and this is where this gets, in this example, I showed you something a little bit more advanced, okay? So I actually I did a route where I'm showing all the possible paths. And essentially what we're going to want to do is, like in what it shows in the validation, whenever we have multiple choices, so in this example, we have yes, 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 no, or yes, no, no, go to the same answer. We want to put, I actually don't know the name of the character, but just that straight character to separate the values, just like I did here in my example here on Notion. Now, I did not go through, what I did really was just do a majority rule on this one. You can do weighted quizzes where based off essentially a score that you're getting an answer, and that's what I did in the example I did in the beginning with the one from SillyX. This one, because I did 3 different questions, they give you 3 different answers, and there's 5 questions. I had to do a little bit more work on this to get these right. But you can also use the help of ChatGPT to help you form these questions and even spit out the answers and the results that you want as well. So that's what we did here. So nothing too crazy. Now, what I'm going to do, essentially what you could do is, let's say you wanted this, well, we'll delete that. You're going to do data selection, and then you're going to do small, right? Because there's 5 questions, small, and small. Okay, those are all the answer choices. If you chose all small, it will point you to this answer right here. But the way this works is, okay, maybe I want one medium in there and it still gives me to landing page. Then I do that divider, and then I type in the next one, the next path and choice, and so on. So that will take a little bit of prep just to figure out what you want to do. Or again, you can use ChatGPT, and I can even give you an example for this as well on how I built this or how to build this one. So for, again, the sake of time, what we will do is just, what I did was put this together and give me all the possible paths. Now for medium was probably the most, but I'm going to copy this, and that is going to be the attribute value as well. So again, data selection, and then we're going to type in the value, and that's what we get here. Now, I'm going to name this form sample form. Okay, and then what we want to do as well is, because essentially what this is going to do at the moment is, data selection. I should do that. Oh, I did the form core content, my bad. So at the moment, this is not actually submitting the data. So what I did here was I did data form submit. Now, there are a couple of different ways you can go about this. I'm keeping it simple for this example. And what I'm really going to have it do is, okay, so if someone feels that this is ready, then what you can do is go ahead and hit launch your idea. Okay, great. I know what's going to best fit my site or my project, and then they're ready to go. So then they launch their idea, and then really you can do a redirect URL, and you can go to like a Calendly link. So in this place, I'll just go to, let's do flux-academy.com, I think. Yep. So redirect here, okay. But let's just say you put that to a Calendly link, or you could even do, use the FinSuite attributes and use the enhance attribute as well. So you'll copy this script, and then you're going to go ahead and add that. You're going to add an enhance option into your form. And again, with the help of AI, or if you know how to work with APIs, you can actually write a little script that maybe sends data out to a webhook, and you can work that into like Airtable or Notion and so on. And that's different options you'll have to go ahead and work with something like this. Okay, and now for now, we'll have this go to fluxacademy.com, and that's where this all go to. Cool. And you'll see that there is one more thing here. I have another attribute called data form submit button. Now this is telling the code that this is the submit button, and it will send the form data and also redirect my site to the URL I have described. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this now. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this. Actually, I don't think I put the code. I did not. All right, so silly me. Now this one is a beta code, so I'm going to grab the beta script here, and I will go ahead and add this into the body, save that. Now let's go ahead and publish. So now we'll have get started. Oh, I did not assign. This is how you can test it and see if you have any bugs. Did not assign our attribute, data form, and we'll do next button. That just tells me to go next. Let's try that again. to reload the page here. You'll see that there's a flash. That's why I put the loading animation. I just took that to Reloom. We'll hit get started, and there we go. Now I'm going next. What's the primary purpose? Boom, boom. It's a website, boom. Okay, so I've got the multi-step form working and ran into a couple little kinks and bugs, but essentially that's going to be the process for doing something like this where you want to split out to multiple paths.